Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the D1Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Want to remind everyone that the sun is out and the fun is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Score a cool pool, savor summer flavor with a grill, prep for fishing weekends, or mount up with a new mountain bike. However you have fun, you can't lose with their top brands. Gear up online at academy.com or at your local store. Speaking of fun humans, I am joined by the great Shooter Hunt, VP of Scouting at Prep Baseball. And Shooter, we're going to talk about the draft, and we'll call this the Make It to Campus list. There's no one who is better to have this discussion with than you, because you've lived every part of it. You were a high-profile high school player who was drafted out of high school. You were a first-round pick out of college. You were one of the first high-profile transfers I ever heard of, where you went from a big-time school to a big-time school, going from Virginia to Tulane. You know, you're from a baseball family. Your dad is a highly decorated high school coach. Your brothers are in the game, the whole deal. And, of course, what you do at Prep Baseball is you watch these guys. Like, when I watch the draft, I'm trying to figure out who these kids are. When you watch the draft, it's like people you're related to getting drafted. Like, you've been watching these kids for years. So this is going to be great. And I want to tee you up on this background, Shooter. So when I was coaching in college 25 years ago, and for a long time, not just my little era, the draft was the single most important day in the season that was to come. So like draft day 2025 dictated so much of what was going to happen in the 2026 season. Who did you keep on your roster? Which of your recruits? I'm going to give you some names, Shooter, of players that got through the draft. That's the expression, who gets through the draft, that changed programs. And like, here's some, like, I'll save my best one for last. Garrett Cole was a first rounder who chose to go to UCLA. They end up playing in the finals in 2010. Dylan Cruz pulls himself out of the draft because people thought there was too much swing and miss. And he kind of sniffed that out. Now he's not elevating the ball enough, which is hilarious. But of course that changed LSU's trajectory there. Jack Caglianone, Jack Cags, if you will. He's been out of sight, out of mind for too long. You know, like he has Tommy John his senior year of high school. He's a two-way player. Just enough confusion to get him through the draft. Alex Bregman breaks a finger as a high school player in Albuquerque, was dying to sign pro out of high school, but he gets to LSU because of that. And I'll give you one in your native state of Oregon, not your current native state. Dallas Buck, way back a million years ago, was a fourth-round pick when Oregon State and Pat Casey were just getting it going. He turned down the draft because he thought he wanted to play football and baseball. He lasted 2 weeks in football. Next thing you know, Oregon State is a powerhouse in baseball. Go wherever you want with that, Shooter. What are some names that jump out for you?
Well, you talk about my neck of the woods with Dallas Buck. Who did he beat but Andrew Miller and that North Carolina team? Daniel Bauer. Right. Those guys get to campus. That's like turned North Carolina into a powerhouse, right? What they've been able to do since then. We were talking about, like, I was thinking of Kumar Rocker. Like, Kumar Rocker had no business going to college. Yeah. And what did he do as a freshman? He leads them to, national title in 2019. But it is so important to have that freshman base. And I think even in this landscape where the portal has become such a loud statement, having guys develop within your own program is really important.
Yes. And I would say, we could do our own podcast on Kumar Rocker, like just how fascinating he is, his background, his family, his dad, his freshman year, his first start against TCU. He can't even get out of the second inning. And then you fast forward 4.5 months, and he's literally pitching for Vandy in game 2 of a super regional, and they've already lost game 1. I mean, that was his freshman season. And to your point, they win it all. Just incredible. And then, here's the other part of it is the professional baseball's attitude towards high school players has changed. In 2012, 201 high school players signed a pro contract in 2012. And then the last 5 years since the pandemic, it's been right around 90 to 95 high school players. So pro ball, Major League Baseball organizations are, they're changing the way they're investing, and they're sending more players to college baseball to then, of course, draft them later. I want you to expand on what you just said, Shooter. Like when you said, hey, because here's the question. Why does this matter? Like with the transfer portal, why should coaches even bother with high school freshmen? Now, I would say or college freshmen. I'd say LSU is a pretty good example of why you should, and they've won 2 of the last 3. But give me your take on why recruiting high school players still matters.
Well, because I think the superstars are going to come from that side of things. The immediacy of Case and Evans getting to campus and Derek Curriel for LSU, those are guys who, hey, they probably value themselves as a top 30 pick. They weren't looking at that coming out of high school. But now you're going to see Derek Curry will be a top 15 pick next year. Casey Evans will probably be the following year, a first rounder from that standpoint. You can go by Will Bednar for Mississippi State. You develop that into a frontline guy. Landon Sims. Those are all guys who came out ready to go. They could easily have been drafted. But that's where you're going to get your impact superstars, and why I'm so passionate about the on-campus guys. I love college baseball. The amount of college baseball that I watch may outweigh the high school stuff. Because Ben McDonald is a fixture on the screen. Berkey, all those guys, I just hear their voices nonstop as I'm working. But getting those guys on campus, and then even you can remember back to coaching, if you had too many junior college guys, how are we going to build the team camaraderie? How do we get things together? What happens if we hit a bump in the road? Do we have those kind of roots where we can dig ourselves up from, hey, we're not doing very well right now, but we're going to keep working each day? Versus, hey, these guys came from all over, they're hired hands, and when it hit the fan, everybody just dispersed. So I think it is still really important to have those freshmen on campus.
I'm with you. And the transfer market is a fascinating study. My personal opinion is I don't believe the Paul Skeens and the, Braden Montgomery and the Tommy Whites, those famous guys. I don't think they're readily available in the portal anymore. The new version of that was Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher last year, which are still first rounders and incredible players. But I wouldn't call Liam Doyle or Andrew Fisher generational players, whereas I would call Tommy White and Paul Skeens generational players. Now, maybe you could quibble a little bit there, but even these last 3 national champions, like LSU in 2023, you do have Skeens and Tommy White, but you have a ton of Louisiana kids, Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso and Ty Floyd. Ty Floyd, forget the Louisiana part, but he grew up in that program. Last year's team at LSU, Cade Anderson, Monster Milam was a high school recruit. You can't. Chase Shores was a kid that was in their program. Those types of guys.
And even to Cade Anderson, this was a guy who was a top 10 player in the class. He had no business going to school, but he gets hurt. There's a little slowdown, not quite as prevalent his senior year. So that's how he gets to campus. And what do you see? He goes and has a dominant year, becomes a top 5 pick. Even Trey Morgan was another in-state guy who had some draft potential. He goes off and becomes one of the best hitters in the SEC. It's just so important to have those guys. And even Tennessee, Tony does such a great job too, right? They're able to get some of those big names, but they also have Blake Burke, who develops within the system. They somehow are able to still get playing time for all these freshmen while they have guys like Fisher coming in, Doyle. They're still giving a little bit. You'll see this year Tegan Coons and Braden Krenzel, who were able to get some time last year. They'll explode this year and have huge years, and it'll pay dividends. And that's what those big programs who have done it right have done.
Yeah, and my theory is the lack of cohesion and the lack of tenure in your program is most easily exposed in the postseason, where the pressure is just so outrageous. And the regionals, a format the players aren't used to, and just the win or your season ends. And to your point, Shooter, this is where having a Christian Moore, having a Blake Burke, who have been through it for 3 years, Hunter Ensley can grab everybody on the team and be like, we're doing this. We got this. It's no one needs to be spooked by any of this.
It's important. You talk about Hunter Ensley. I still because he's a program guy, goes through, it's important to have those older guys to lay the foundation of this is a pressure situation. This is a tough spot to be, but we will be okay. It's whether you fall behind early, it's a long game. Having those guys who have those roots is really important, especially when you go into some unfriendly confines.
Yeah. And even putting a bow on the transfers, this could be a whole different podcast, but even when you mentioned the junior college players, that's where the Vahiva Aloy, that's the old school junior college model, where the first year it's a talented player who's trying to figure it out. The second year, if you can get them to a second year, now you got a monster on your hands. It's an uber talented player who actually is comfortable in competing.
Yeah, and getting that playing time. We were just talking about like how important it is to get at bats right early on. That's how you develop. You get those live at bats, whether it comes in the summer league, the Northwoods League, Cape, whatever it may be, or you're playing throughout the spring. Like actually developing and having. I always look at it as being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Right when you step into the box or the dish or Duty Noble, wherever it may be, or you go down to College Station, you have to be comfortable. This is going to be a tough spot, probably tougher than half of the major league stadiums going into the SEC or the Big 12, the PAC or ACC, whatever it may be. You need to start getting some comfort in there. And how do you do that? You get some live action.
Yep. So this is, let me just read some stats when we think about this draft. So of the prep baseball top 100 who made it to campus, 51 of them are at SEC schools. No shocker there. 22 are at ACC schools. 11 are at Big 12 schools and 7 are at Big 10 schools. As far as like top incoming classes by program, Tennessee has 8 top 100 players who made it to campus. Arkansas has 5, LSU has 5. And I would say LSU and Tennessee, we'll talk about them in a second, but they're both similar in that they took a lot of losses. But, if you start with a lot of money and you lose a lot of money, you still got a lot of money. You start with not that much money and you lose a lot of money, now you got a problem. Tennessee and Arkansas lost a lot of players, but they had a lot of players. Oklahoma State with 5. That's awesome for them. Mm-hmm. Texas with 5. Alabama, Mississippi State, and A&M with 4. Any thoughts real off the top? I mean, the SEC having half the top 100 is not shocking. It's interesting to me, Shooter, because I would argue that's the hardest league for freshmen to get playing time in, obviously, right? Because that's the most attractive league for transfers. But it's also clearly the most attractive league for high school recruits, too.
Yeah, there's no better league to be in than the SEC. When you're playing well as a freshman, it's when you're not playing that becomes an issue with some development aspects of things. And it's something we consider when we're going through, right? You kind of need to play early on. So some of the guys who are at mid-majors, we'll talk about like College of Charleston has a really nice class. Coastal's obviously done such a great job. They're a power major at this point. DBU, but you have to go on and be able to play. And I think the SEC, the reason you see so many of those guys is like the talent level is so high, right? The ceiling for all these guys is just set so high because of the tools. Now they have to actually get to it, right? I call, when we talk internally, like the Matt Shaw effect. Matt Shaw, a New England kid, tough, right. Yeah, probably not a shortstop. He's going to play like second or third base, hit right-hand. He's going to Maryland. But that kid works his way and he passes up a lot of the higher profile, tooled up guys because that kid's tough and he just was able to go out there and produce and get better. So it's something that we're constantly looking for. But like at some point, those SEC guys, if you look at the draft, they're going to get selected. So it's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, let's start before we do classes. Let's start with a famous player, Jack Bauer, left-hander he's from the state of Illinois, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would argue he's the most famous player to make it to campus, mostly because he's a left-handed pitcher who has touched 103 miles an hour. He's going to Mississippi State, made it through the draft. I think it's unfair. Let me say this, Shooter, and I want you've seen him, I've not. What I'm picturing is a kid with an incredible arm, like just, thunderbolt for an arm. But obviously the command and the refinement have a long way to go, or there's no way he's getting to campus. So I think if you're Mississippi State, you should be excited about the talent, but also temper expectations. Like this kid's going to need a minute to figure it out in college baseball. Is that fair?
Oh, for sure. And he was actually Tyler Bell at Kentucky, his high school teammates.
No way. They were high school teammates?
Oh, yeah.
Holy heck.
I'm with you. Like, I try not to put too much pressure. He's got huge upside, right? Up to 103. He's got 3 above average pitches. What will help him at Mississippi State is that they return some really good guys on the mound. And they're going to be able to allow him to kind of take a back seat and maybe throw some midweek games to start things up. And I would stress this to Mississippi State fans, Bulldog fans, and Tutti Noble. Give him time to develop. If you allow him time to continue to get better, you will reap so much reward because this is a guy who's chance to be a 1-1 pick. You go off like he's not there yet. He's going to have to continue to develop. But few have the natural God-given talent that Jack Bauer has. And if you allow him to go out and kind of continue to take his lumps, you talked about Kumar not getting out of the second inning, right, early on. And what happens throughout the year, he then throws a no-hitter in the super. But that's something that Jack Bauer needs, but it's electric stuff. And he is a huge reason for why Mississippi State's class, which with the old staff would have been a top 3 class, and then the new staff kind of traded a catcher to Tennessee, and they took on Jack Bauer. So it's a really good group. They obviously got a ton of transfers, but Jack Bauer has huge upside, and I think that Mississippi State fans are going to be very excited once he clicks and becomes that frontline SEC arm.
So with Bauer, to put a bow on him, Shooter, like when I think about a kid like this, and again, I saw him once. I saw him once in one of the All-Star games, but like you see him for 30 seconds. Maybe I saw him throw 15 pitches, so maybe I haven't seen him. But I have. But like when you've seen him more than me, clearly, like if you had to put a program together for him, is he the kid that is maybe not commanding it the way he wants to yet because the mechanics are a little wonky and not repeatable? He maybe doesn't have the strength to repeat his mechanics. Or I think part of the cross to bear for a kid like Jack Bauer is you throw so hard and your stuff is so ridiculous that when you're facing high school hitters, they're just in take mode because they don't know what else to do. So now, like, the pressure on you as a strike thrower is way more than a normal guy because you have to be nearly perfect because no one's swinging.
Well, I think he was back the summer before, which was kind of scattered his junior spring. He made such a stride forward this past spring with regards to strikes and repeatability that if he continues that trend, like we won't be talking much about that. Yeah. We'll be like, how did this kid get to campus? It is really clean, kind of boring arm action, gets down the mound really well. Like I can't stress enough, like the fact that Mississippi State returns so much. Is it the McPherson kid? Like, I think he's going to have an electric year. Yeah. Like they're going to be really good on the mound, which will allow him to kind of ease in with some midweek action. But like you said, this is something that's never gotten to campus. A lefty could throw in 103. I think at some point, Andrew Miller back in 06 may have gotten up to 98, 99, maybe 100. This kid is at 103. It's something that maybe 5 humans in the history of the world have done from the left side. So it's really cool. And I think it's going to be one of those things where he'll have a lot of spotlight, which is not easy to deal with, but he will have a lot of support within that Mississippi State program.
Yeah, I love what you said. Like that's the beautiful part about it is like Mississippi State does not need him to come in and save the program. It's a very talented roster, especially on the mound. 100%.
Without a doubt, they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah. So before we do the SEC, let's do TCU. Now, TCU's fun because, under Kirk Saarloos, they always recruit high school players at a high level. They always have. It's like this neat combination of you get the weather, you're in a great conference, it's a really cool school. Fort Worth is an amazing city. Like there's a lot. TCU is a very attractive program for many reasons, has been for a long time. They also had an incredible freshman class last year and a freshman class that helped them get to the NCAA tournament. So, Nolan Traeger is their catcher and, Sawyer Stroh-Snyder is looks like a first round pick this year as a draft eligible sophomore. Noah Franco. But it sounds like they killed it in the draft again, Shooter.
For sure. And I think you talk about like guys like Stroh-Snyder and Noah Franco, who are big names, but it's like, they got some stuff to figure out. The fact that they got all this playing time allowed TCU to blossom and like kind of lay the foundation of like, we're going to be really good for some time here. And then even Trevor Baumler, I think he'll have a big year next year. You talk about Nolan Traeger, who when we talk internally, like that's a guy you need in your team. Like that's a foundational piece. That's a captain type guy. And they're bringing in some guys like that. So this group, like Lucas Franco, as a third baseman, could probably play a little shortstop, left-handed hitter from the Houston area. Like he has no business being in college.
No relation to Noah either, right?
No relation to Noah. He's
Crazy.
6'3", 200 pounds. Like the kid can rake. He had a ton of helium last spring and then took his name out. Like him being on campus, oh boy, that's amazing. Uli Fernsler, who was a lot of the scouting community's favorite arm of last summer. Kid from Michigan, low slot, the velocity, right? You go into the spring, the velocity making that jump makes everybody feel warm and fuzzy inside and allows you to kind of go out there. But he pounds the zone. He has pitchability, starter upside. They're going to be really good in the mound. Similar to Jack Bauer, he will not have to immediately impact a Friday or Saturday game. So like he is huge upside. I thought he would go because guys were going to bet on the fact that the velocity would jump. And then Brady Dalmore, who had dealt with an injury, which kind of slowed down his draft summer. So guys didn't get a chance to see him. Then he was outstanding throughout the spring in Las Vegas. But he is a leader type guy. So he's going to allow Traeger to get a day off. But he, over time, we always go in like high school catchers get devalued, and then college catchers end up being the first rounders, right? We have to get college catchers. Brady Dallimore is the type that I circle as like, this guy's a chance to be a first rounder. So it's a really good class, and especially at the top end, like those are 3 top 25 guys to get on campus. That has a chance to be a special group for the next couple of years.
Yeah, man, if TCU baseball was a stock, Jenny and Michael Patrick Rooney would be buying a lot of it. That is stacking classes. So let's do TCU, or let's do Tennessee and LSU. So, like previous decade, programs of the decade were Vandy and Florida, right? Florida goes to 7 Omahas, and Vandy wins 2 national titles. And Vandy and Florida have not gone anywhere. I mean, there's still factors in stuff like this. But this decade, clearly, it has become Tennessee and LSU's decade, right? Like these 2 programs have been ridiculous. And where I'd love you to focus on this, and you could go one at a time, Shooter, is like not necessarily the famous people they lost in the draft, like the people that, hey, when they signed them, there's always guys like when we were at ASU, we signed Prince Fielder, and my dad got all excited. I was, Dad, calm down. Like he's there. You're more likely to play for Arizona State baseball at age 58 than Prince Fielder is. Like, he's not coming. Like, that ain't happening. So who are the guys that, like, LSU and Tennessee just missed on? Like, you thought, maybe they'll get to campus that they didn't get, and then take us to the players that you're excited about that they did get.
Yeah, I always talk about the Vanderbilt 2022 recruiting class, which like, oh, it's so good. It's all, I'm like, those guys, I think they had like 7 top 40 picks. They were first rounders like as sophomores in high school. Yeah. Like we should have punted on this a long time ago, but I think River Hamilton was a guy I thought might get to LSU. He started the year on essentially the DL, like did not pitch until late in the season. He ended up signing for LSU, which it's tough, but like the fact that they got Marcos Paz, who I think is the most SEC ready arm, the fact that he got to campus is I'm shocked. So I don't know what was going on there, but like LSU did a great job getting to campus. And honestly, they've done a really good job the last couple of years with getting guys like that. I thought he was kind of a surprise from that standpoint. And then Tennessee, like Cruz Schoolcraft and Cam Appenzeller were like, hey, one is not going to make it. The other is. Like, that's kind of the way I saw it. Cruz Schoolcraft goes in the first round of the Padres. Appenzeller, who, I mean, when we're looking back 3 years from now, we'll probably talk about the fact that Cam Appenzeller's basketball team went on such a deep run that it slowed down his throwing program, and he never actually made the build up to where he needed to be to become that top 30 pick. And that got him to campus. So like Cam Appenzeller, who ironically, I think he's very similar to Nick Lodolo. So like a TCU guy, kind of clean lefty, has a chance to make those jumps. But really River Hamilton was the one I was like, I think he can get there. And then I guess LSU had a few infielders, Fauski, Young. I thought one of those guys, Ebel, like one of those guys I thought might get there. And then all 3 got paid very handsomely, as deservingly so. But obviously really good groups.
And even like that's the one thing about the draft, even though MLB is signing less players, less high school players, the ones that they want, it's almost impossible. Like, it's so funny. I had a conversation with a recruiter, and I don't mean this to sound arrogant. But like I'm getting old, right? And so like you've seen more stuff, and they were talking about this presentation they wanted to put together for families on the benefits of choosing college baseball. And in my mind, I was like, you maybe don't waste a ton of time on that, because like there's so much money. And if MLB wants the player, they have so much money to throw at these families, and the money escalates every year. And so like when you mentioned all those kids for LSU, and like that is, you start thinking like, man, if we just sneak one through there, but it's just like the money it feels infinite at times, and it's going to less players. It's crazy.
It's funny on each side, right? You get the scouting community, the pro scouting community, and then the recruiting coordinators in college. Like they each have, they form to their own biases, right? Like, oh, this is why college is better. Oh, how could you go to college? This is what pro ball. Like I hear it from both sides. I'm like, hey, I just like players and I enjoy watching both of them. So like, it's whatever to me. I'm not signing the checks.
Yeah, it's like in a political affiliation. We are what we are. Hey, tell me about. So I'm gonna come back to Appenzeller for in a second, but Marcos Paz. I read about him really quickly. Here's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing like a 6'1" righty. I think he's from the Houston area or something like that. Like I feel like he's from a good baseball area. Dallas, okay. So a good baseball area. Like he's been around good players, and he blew out his junior year of high school. And maybe if that hadn't happened, there's no. And so it's like that combination of like he's undersized, so he's probably pitches with a chip on his shoulder. He has pitchability. He's also got tremendous arm talent. And if he doesn't blow out as a junior, there's no chance he gets to LSU. Fair?
Like I would have had him up there with Seth Hernandez. Like he was the only guy that could challenge Seth Hernandez, who was the best pitching prospect we had seen since Jackson Jobe at the high school level. Everything was just so easy. His strike throwing ability, even beyond. Now he's come back from injury, so you got to take that into account. But like he was well beyond Kason Evans, where Kason Evans was his senior year, and I love Kason Evans. Love the competitiveness. Dad's a coach. So many good things. Now Marcos Paz could hit a gnat. He could wake up from a 20-year slumber and still throw a strike. We'll see where he's at. Like he's still going to have to get developed, obviously, and get those innings back under his belt. But that's a low pulse guy who's not going to be intimidated by Baton Rouge or any other of the other parks in the SEC. But it's a real 3-pitch mix. It's about as easy as it comes. And again, like I thought for sure he was signing because he got healthy enough at the end to throw bullpens in June leading up to the draft, where I thought some team would make a run at him. But Jay's got that magic working right now at LSU, and you know the allure of the box. Like you just want to play in that purple and gold.
Yeah. It's just LSU is like it's like this. Someone's going to be offended by this, but I'll say it's almost like it's like the Yankees' resources with the Rays' efficiencies. You know, it's like it just all systems go right now. So many great nuggets too. Like the Francos are not related. I didn't know that Kason Evans' dad is a coach, a high school coach.
Mm-hmm. His high school, St. Paul's.
That's awesome. And then, all right. So tell me about Appenzeller. So you said basketball. Where is he from? Is he from Illinois too?
He's from Southern Illinois.
And his high school hoops team was like a state championship caliber squad.
Oh, I'm sure most scouting departments had a lot of highlights of him just flushing. Like he was, I think he was all state. Like he was lefty, so like really good. I think he's a really talented golfer as well. So
now I hate him.
He's got everything going for him. Just the velocity didn't tick up, and I was very aligned because I had a deep basketball run my senior year in high school, which slowed down my throwing process. I never caught up for the draft because of that. So I'm seeing him like, oh, he's having trouble getting above 91 or whatever it may be. And in my head, I'm thinking he was up to 96 for me last summer. I've seen it. It's really good. Now, if he can just get there, and what happens at Tennessee? Something happens, you step on campus, you get in the weight room, you start eating, and you're around Frank Anderson, and all of a sudden you throw 99, 100. So he's got a shot, but he's not alone. Like the whole Tennessee class is really good there too.
Yeah. That's and that, like you're to your point, like that's the whole thing with the LSU and the Tennessee classes. They are, even though like I'd say Tennessee and LSU are not like volume shooters or volume buyers in the portal. They're like more surgical, but they're also still building very large high school classes that they know will be vulnerable to the draft, but they're playing the volume game, right? Like they're keeping enough of them that they just keep stacking these great classes.
Keeping them happy. I mean, like even like Finley Bates was a guy they brought in from San Diego State who like we could on our transfer portal show, we can talk about that. Like that was a kid who went off and played, had a ton of toughness out of Colorado. Like I think SEC fans and Tennessee fans are going to really enjoy Finley Bates. But like Ethan Bayotto, who was a Dallas area kid, he had no business getting to school. Like super clean, kind of similar to Braden Krenzel. So like he is a similar profile in high school. He's getting to campus, somebody to bring in. Nate Eisenfelder, who moved from Tennessee down to IMG, got tons of at-bats. I think this kid's going to flat out rake. When we're going into our draft stuff, like he's right, not as strong positionally. So where's he going to play? The impact of the position, right? Out of high school, if you're getting a corner guy who's a right-handed hitter, it's not quite as valuable. But when he comes out of the SEC and he's dominated for 2 or 3 years, all of a sudden he becomes ultra valuable, right? So I think he's got a chance to do that. Taylor Tracy, Cash Williams, Tyler Wood, like even Ethan Moore, who's a really talented switch hitter from Illinois. They have lots of good pieces to work with, but I'm a big believer now. It's almost, I call it like the NBA jam theory. So like you got to have your two guys. Like you got to have a potential weekend guy and a potential impact bat. They have those because you throw in Trent Grindlinger, who was a Huntington Beach native, He was committed to Mississippi State. Mississippi State fires Chris Lemonis. The staff leaves. He ends up at Tennessee. I thought he would get drafted, but he's another cornerstone piece. And Tennessee just keeps developing. So really good group.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, let's do UCLA real quick. Like speaking of a program that was like downtrodden for a second, maybe more than a second, and then has that momentum reversed. I mean, like, could be the number one team in the country next year, certainly in the top 3, and, picking up pieces in the portal. And then sounds like UCLA had a really good draft.
Yeah. I mean, Angel Cervantes was gone. He was all set. He was the second pick for the Pirates. And then all of a sudden something must have happened. He puts out, I'll be on campus, because that guy's a flat out dog. Like he steps on the mound. He is scared of nothing. And when he gets between those white lines, he is an absolute bulldog out there. One of my absolute favorite arms. And I think a lot of scouting departments had him super high on their board. So for him to get to campus with Coach Savage and what they're bringing back, that's so important, right? Because why is UCLA good right now? Well, they brought in and developed Rock Chalowski. They dealt with Roman Martin's lumps so that he can blossom into being potentially a star next year. Like I would expect him to have a breakout year next year. It's a really good crew. Now they've added a nice arm from the transfer portal, which will help them as well. But that's not the only guy. Like Zach Strickland, super clean arm. He's the type that Sav gets on campus and allows him to grow. I'd expect him to be triple digits at some point. And then even a guy like Aiden Aguayo, who is just a tough, absolute ball player. The ones you played against, right? UCLA, this guy's going to grind it out, but he's got some electricity and he'll sneak some stuff out of here. So I think Cervantes at the top is so impactful that it really helps this UCLA crew become dynamite.
Is Cervantes would you call that a starter profile, or is it more like just an electric arm that the role is to be determined?
Cervantes is a pure starter profile, but again, his toughness, when he came to our All-American game as a junior, he was closing that game. Why was he closing the game? Because I knew this guy would be lights out. Like, hey, if we get in any trouble with timing and this happens, like, we know that Angel Cervantes will save the day. So like he was the save the day guy. He closed out his junior year. He started his senior year at All-American game. But that dude, it's just, he's got ice running through his veins. And again, like he's not going to have to be their Friday guy. Like he'll be able to come in at different spots. You look at what Weston Moss did last year, another guy that I love, kind of got brought along. He's going to have a chance to have a big sophomore year. But Angel Cervantes, remember that name.
Love that. Hey, so let's do 3 more to put a bow on it. Like, sounds like Virginia did really well in the portal, obviously, and what a great hire for Virginia. Tough to lose Brian O'Connor, but to gain Chris Power, just incredible. So Virginia sounds like did well in the draft. College of Charleston and Coastal sounds like they did well in the draft, Shooter.
Yeah, and Virginia, right? Duke goes to Virginia. Virginia becomes Duke. Virginia goes to Mississippi State. Mississippi State becomes Virginia. It was a full moving parts, and I'm probably one of the few that knows all these parts that are moving like intricately, right? Like I've been following this kid forever. Oh, that's like Nunnally going from Virginia to Mississippi State. That's a huge move. Oh wow, Thomas Blinkus. But Virginia, the Duke arms they brought with us have such high upside. And Brady Kirkpatrick does such a great job as the pitching coach there. But Noah Yoder, he's going to have to refine, but his ceiling is as high, if not higher, than almost everybody in this class. It's 96 to 99 with a banger breaking ball. He's going to have to repeat, right? You have to throw strikes if you're going to pitch in college baseball. Jaden Stroman, obviously brother of Marcus, really talented athlete. He kept getting better. He was 94 to 97 throughout much of the spring. But he's a really good arm. Obviously, he's got that toughness to him on the mound. Christian Lucarelli, PA kid, who flips from Duke to Virginia, high upside. And then John Paoni, who's from your neck of the woods in New England, up in Mass. You're a Philly guy. Sorry. But up in Mass, and he's another big arm. And you throw those guys in there, those are SEC type profiles, right? Those are huge arms. If they click, if they come together, they have a chance to be awesome. So those are really good ones. College Charleston, like Nick Diaz from Stoneman Douglas High School, which churns out nonstop prospects, right?
In Florida. How about them going down to Florida?
Right. So I think he's a guy, and he's a top 50 guy to get to campus. Probably had some draft, but he impacted that Stoneman Douglas lineup for 2 national championship years. But I think he's a guy like, hey, I want to play right away. I have a chance to go to College of Charleston and play right away. might not have that chance at this SEC program, but I believe in myself. I'm going to bet on myself. They have a kid, Stowe Rogers, who's a local South Carolina native, catcher, backstop, big physical right-handed hitter. But we talk about like those power major programs. Cam Flukie gets to campus at Coastal. He develops into a first rounder. So like Caden Bodine, who's a Jersey kid. I love Caden Bodine. What does he turn into a top 40 pick? I think they have a chance to do some of that stuff. And Kevin Schnall and the rest of the staff, like they almost identify guys way quicker than I do. And anytime I see a kid commit to Coastal, I have to go down and be like, what do we have on this kid? Because he's got a chance to be really good because they do such a great job there in Conway.
Was Cam Flukie? He's Egg Harbor Township. I think he's like super South Jersey. Was he like a dude, or was he like a big beanpole project guy back then?
So you've seen like the long arm stroke, gets to that over the top. So like there's some hit or miss with the arm action from the scouting community. But there's another kid, Steven Echeverria, who the A's ended up taking the first round from. He's not Milburn High School in New Jersey. He got $3 million. Some of the scouts had Flukie ahead of him. So it was one of those, hey, Echeverria signed, Flukie went to college. We'll see in 5 years who's better. But he definitely had guys sniffing around because obviously that arm talent, he had some big stuff. The breaking ball had to come along, which it now has, and he looks awesome.
I love that. Hey, Shooter, let's end with this. I want a pick-to-click player for you. That is from your top 25 kids that made it to campus. Like a name of interest to me is Braden Jaska, who's going to Oregon, a catcher that you have second. But I don't want to influence the jersey. In that top 25 that you have, who's a pick to click? A player that you'd put money on.
I kind of put down like Braden Jackson's got some Charlie Condon to him. Like he had probably no business getting to college. And I told that to Jack Marta, the recruiting coordinator at Oregon. I'm like, this guy's awesome. I don't see him getting to school. He did get to school. His makeup's through the roof. I'm excited to see him. I'm so biased. Like I think the development aspect, I think Brandon Shannon is a right-hander going to Louisville who has a chance to really explode there. Like if they can develop him, it's super raw, but it's an explosive fastball and the whole arsenal frame. That's a guy I think we could be talking about. And then I'll give you one more because I think Notre Dame's class is outstanding. Like they got guys at campus. Caden Corral is really good left-hander. I thought he was one of the better guys, has great bloodlines. But Brandon Logan, center fielder, I think he was like a 4-star strong safety. So he'll be playing for the Irish football team. His the makeup, the swing decisions, like the more he can play, the better he'll get. So like that's what's going to be paramount to him. Is he able to go out and get a lot of at-bats during the spring and summer to blossom into what he could be? But he is through the roof. I would be pumped up if I'm an Irish fan because he's going to be really good on Saturdays in the fall, and then he'll be good on weekends in the spring.
That's awesome. Hey, where are those 4 kids from? So the kid Jaska, is he an Oregon kid?
So he's a NorCal kid, like Bay Area. Okay. They've done a really good job. And then the other 2 are Indiana. Corral and Logan are both Indiana kids. And then Brandon Shannon, Illinois, which Louisville has done such a great job of going into Illinois, which is an absolute powerhouse with baseball.
Yeah, but I think both Indiana and Illinois are very underrated amateur baseball states. Illinois has a ton of good players, and it's just such a big place. And Indiana, almost like per capita, produces a lot of really good players, I think.
I love to say in Indiana, what does Indiana do? Jump shots and power fastballs.
Oh, that's great. Who knew? That's good. Shooter, what do you have out there as far as like people that want to follow up on this podcast, as far as like articles on the websites? Where do they find more detail on this stuff?
Check it out in D1 Baseball, but also at prepbaseball.com with our on-campus rankings 1 through 100. We have the team breakdowns that you were talking about with the conferences. Be sure to check that out. We'll also have our initial draft board coming out. Saif and I have put it together, so be sure to check that out along with everybody's favorite post-summer mock draft, which are always very fun to do, but the draft is such a different animal in Major League Baseball that it can definitely change in a hurry. But it's fun to check out. There's been a lot of big-time guys throughout the summer, and obviously some programs that will be impacted by it.
I love that. All right, last one, I promise. So when you think about this exercise last year, a year ago, you're ranking the kids that made it to campus. Who was your best call last year? Like maybe the industry, you were a little higher than the industry on this kid, or maybe he was high profile and you just nailed it.
Shoot, we've had trouble with some pitchers. Pitchers are always tough to do. They seem to get to campus. Some guys have not done well, and I always feel bad. Like, we put this target on Jack Bauer's back. Like, he should just go out there and do his thing. I mean, Tyler Bell had a great freshman year. He was our favorite for over a year. I think he's going to have a great sophomore year, chance to be a first rounder, but he's tough as nails too. Switch hitter who just, I would want my kids following Tyler Bell. So that's our guy from last year.
Yeah, man, I was very skeptical of Tyler Bell having, like, not that I saw him and didn't like him, but just like the profile, you're like, Chicago kid, SEC, are you really going to start at shortstop as a freshman? You turned down pick 66, and then I had a bunch of Kentucky games, and man, Tyler Bell was all that. He was awesome. Like, what a good player.
Him, and then obviously Derek Curry, like, when they had LSU had a huge class last year, it's like Derek Curry is the most important kid to get to campus. Like, he is at Orange Lutheran. He has been ready for the SEC for 3 years. He will be more than fine. And he was.
It is interesting when we think about LSU 2023 versus LSU 2025, and LSU 2023 was so loud and so famous and generational player after generational player. I mean, like Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz and Tommy White are going to be like 3 generational players. And you could argue that LSU 2025 like didn't even have a generational player. Like, you couldn't say that about Cade Anderson. He pitched 1.5 years of college baseball. Not his fault, but like, he's all those types of things. But Derek Curriel is the one. Like, I think he's the one we'll look back and be like, that was the star. He was just a freshman.
Yeah, and I actually, Jay Johnson, I think he's as good as it gets in game management, and I think that this past year was his best work. Even better. Or at 23, like, here's Skeens, here's the ball. Now he had to do other stuff. This year, like, it was a dogfight, and he helped them get there. So I can't say enough about him doing that this year. But you're spot on. Like, Curriel, we'll see what he does this year, but I'd expect him to have another big year.
Yeah, special player. Yeah, really cool. Shooter, this was super fun. Super, super fun. The time flew by, and that's it. Hey, a little preview, everybody. We're starting to get ready for the Sunday night conversations. Those podcasts will start that third Sunday night in September. I think it's like September. I can probably look at it real quick. September 14th is when those will start. We've got some really fun ones planned. The first one is going to be a tribute to Mike Gillespie, Skip Gillespie, the late skipper, one of only 2 humans, him and Jerry Kindle, who won a national title in baseball, Division I. It won a College World Series as a player and as a coach. And the guests are going to be Ben Orloff and Dave Lawn and John Savage, who were all Skip Gillespie's assistant coaches. We're going to do one on Wichita State baseball, the 1989 national championship. I would say kind of like the blueprint for a northern school winning a national title. And then we've also got one scheduled for Kent State, their 2012 run to Omaha, which, again, just an incredible deal for a MAC school. So really excited for those Sunday night conversations this year, and those will be coming up before you know it. So that is it, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Players are on campus right now. It is almost go time for fall ball. And that is it. We will catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.